Everybody, I'm Kathy Hester and welcome to my kitchen. Today is a super special day because we're doing a live that's sponsored by Idaho Potato Commission, and you know I love me some potatoes. So I'm going to give this time to kind of replicate throughout the interwebs and welcome. Aha, and I need to turn my sound down. Yay, it's potatoes is here and here. We've got potatoes all the way around. Okay, so what we're doing today I thought would be super appropriate with this being Veguary, right? I know that we repurpose January for whatever our needs are, but a lot of people are starting to, at the very least, eat a little healthier this month, even if they're not going on full-on vegan or full-on plant-based. And as you guys know, we're comprised, my community is comprised of vegans, plant-based people, everyone in between, special diets, and people who just want to dabble in Meatless Monday. So this is a perfect recipe for today. Okay, awesome. And hello, Joann. And she said it's a good thing she signed up for the reminder. She's been doing chores all morning. Why do you not live closer to me? Because you could help me get my chore list down. I know, I need to work harder. I need to be better. And she's just been going from one chore to another one. Oh, without finishing the first one. That's what Cheryl does. Cheryl is the best at like vacuuming. And then the vacuum never goes back to the vacuum home. So, you know, I feel you. And so Joann says, now I have a bunch of unfinished projects. That is my life. So I feel you. I feel you. And hello, Jacqui. And I see a bunch of other people are on. So please say hello. Tell me how your New Year's been so far, right? Are we taking some deep breaths? Kind of, you know, 2021 isn't a complete turn of the page, but at least we're moving forward. And that's all I'm looking for right now. Aha, we have someone from Wisconsin. Welcome. We took a walk this morning. Oh, yay! And I bet that's Helene from the Plant-Based Network. Oh, yes, my friend Spuddy Buddy's hanging out with me. Because, like I said, in case I know a lot of you just joined on. So today's live is sponsored by the Idaho Potato Commission because I love potatoes. And potatoes love me back. And just like Spuddy Buddy. You know, how can you not love this cute little guy? And you know, I just love my little Spuddy Buddy. I had a big giant Spuddy Buddy, but I passed that on to a friend's child, and I've just had to let go. Sometimes you have to let go of things. And that's awesome. And oh, Cheryl Bennett's here. Hello, Miss Cheryl. She is also a potato head like me. So what we're going to do, for those of you who are just here and you're like, where am I? What's going on? Hello, I'm Kathy Hester. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm glad you're on the other side of the counter with me. And today we are going to make magic from potatoes. What are we going to make? Plant-based vegan sausage. But let's go beyond that. Let's take a deep breath. What else? It's gluten-free, it's soy-free, it's oil-free, it's nut-free. It's magic vegan sausage. Why? Because potatoes. That's all I have to say to you. So a lot of you have been following along with me when I was doing lives every day in December, right? And so there is a recipe for the breakfast sausage blend that we're going to use. If you're on the live on Facebook, you may not be able to see the description yet, but the description has links to the full recipe on the Idaho Potato site. It has the link to my YouTube video where I make the sausage blend. Okay, but just in case you're feeling nervous, because I know on Facebook it doesn't always show that, but it will after it's done. So depending on where you're watching, it will be one of these places. If you're watching, sometimes if you click the video on Facebook, it'll show up big and then you can see the description down the side. Sometimes they decide to do it a little bit differently. Let me see. Oh, it's Miss Linda. Big hugs to you. And Jeremy is here. Awesome. And Fred. You know, Fred, maybe this recipe is for you. Maybe it's not. Only you can decide for yourself. It's up to you. Personally, I love things that have sausage spices in them. And if you don't, this may not be the recipe for you. And let's see, Cheryl Bennett is so into it. Veggie sausage is the best. And what really makes this taste like sausage is the sausage spices blend, right? And we're using super healthy ingredients. And in fact, this can even be tailored easily to fit into the Chef AJ diet, the Sophist diet, which is a little more stringent than others. And we'll talk about some little tweaks and changes that we can do to make it fit with that. Somebody else said taters. And I don't know if I've told you this, but my friend Josh, his old dog, because he has a Great Dane, is named Tater. And so I just, you know, oh, awesome. And Absolute says, sounds delicious. And Linda is also a potato head. I think I could go so far as to say most of us here are in love with the potato. Inexpensive, nutritious, good for you, keeps like almost forever. Duh, right? Yum. Hey, Apple, I'm so glad you caught the live today. It was nice seeing you in the comments yesterday. And, oh, Dorian was just asking about veggie sausage. Perfect, because here's the thing. And someone else said, would these taste good with gravy? Well, yeah. And if you go back, again, if you go to the YouTube channel, and if you just, I always forget what I called it, but if you just look up Kathy Hester on YouTube, it'll pop up. I'm the only game in town right now with Kathy Hester. And I have an air-fried tofu and kind of a golden gravy. That would work well. Or you could take that same recipe, add a little non-dairy milk to make it a little bit creamier, crumble these sausage on top, maybe over potato. Let's just go for potato layering. I think that would work really good too. Oh, hi, Kelly. It's good to see you here. I'm going to quickly show you guys where this recipe is. Okay. And I'm sorry, I know I'm facing away from you. But if you see at the top, it says idaho-potato.com/recipes/vegan-breakfast-sausage-patties. And so I'll leave that up for a second. So if you wanted to look at the recipe while you're following along, if you would like to find it an easy, without typing all those things, I also have a lot of recipes on Idaho potato because I am not pretending about the potato love. It is real and lasting. So you can also go to idahopotato.com/recipes/bloggers, plural, /Kathy-Hester. And on that page, you'll see all my potato recipes that I've developed specifically for the Idaho Potato Commission. And I'm super proud of them. So I'd love it if you wanted to go see those. Okay. And if that is all just a little bit too much, you do not need to follow along, but I know some of you like to, and I want you to be able to have that Zen feeling today as we're making this. I, in fact, over here, behind the magic Christmas cactus, I have my recipe so I can also kind of tell you some things as we go along. Okay, awesome. Oh, Happy New Year to you, Miss Kelly. And Cheryl ate potatoes yesterday. And she has 2 more so she can make the sausage. Let me tell you, I cooked up some potatoes. Guess what I just had for my lunch? Some potatoes with a little truffle salt on it. It was delicious. Oh, you're funny. Oh, and actually, here we go. I keep forgetting, I'm not in the beta one anymore, so I can actually bring some comments out. For a while, it was breaking. So Jackie's very sweet. There's only one Kathy Hester. Aha, and let's put this up here. Helene, you are such an awesome magical assistant. So Helene is the person who does Virtual Veg Fest. And remember, you can order some of my books and I will sign them for you, just for you, or for whoever you want to give them to. So you can go to virtualvegfest.com and again, look up Jacqui Hester. I feel like I'm saying my name a lot more than usual. Oh, and Sophie's here from Sweden. We are very excited about that. Oh, and Cheryl says, I'm trying to scroll to look at your recipes. Yeah, there's a lot of recipes that I've done. Let's put Dorian on here. I'm so excited about this. Okay, so I guess if I'm this excited, right, I should like actually start cooking. And I'll put this up for a second. So here's the key to this sausage. And it's going to be interesting because everything sat out a little bit longer, so it's probably drier than normal. So I have some emergency extra liquid should I need it. In general, when you're working with something, so the base is black beans. This is just 1 can of black beans or 1.5 cups of homemade, rinsed and drained. So we want to get as much liquid as we can off of everything, because then we have a cup of cooked quinoa. And when these patties are cooking, we can talk more about cooking the potatoes and cooking the quinoa. This is a little bit of a heaping cup of mashed potatoes, but I'll probably leave a little bit behind in case we might need it. This is a 1/4 cup of oat flour. So here's one of my tips. Don't buy expensive oat flour. Take your rolled oats, pulse them in a blender. And inexpensive. And then we've got some flaxseed. You could use chia seed, but I like to use flaxseed because it's got a lot of good fiber. And also then what these two are going to do is help take off any extra moisture that might actually just exist. And I see that we've got a few things going on over here. Hello to you from Long Island. If you are watching on a group in Facebook, I don't see your name. Facebook doesn't let me. So if I'm not saying your name, it totally means I don't see it. You can put it in the parentheses and I will speak directly to you because I'm happy you're here. Aha. And Cheryl says, Barbara would like to know how to store potatoes. Hers always turn green. We'll talk about some potato stuff after we make this just because we're going to have like 30 minutes of baking. So, oh great. I just got back from walking my dog, so glad you're just starting the sausage. Well, you know me. Ooh, okay, yep. And awesome, Theresa. And I love that name. That's my mother's name. I don't hear that very often, actually. Has only been vegan for 2 weeks and would like some recipes. Well, excellent. You are in the right place exactly. So I'm going to, well, there's more people here. Let's reset one more time. Hello, I'm Jacqui Hester, who can't stop saying my name today, and I'm glad you're here. We are going to be making magic potato vegan sausage, right? And it's going to be nut-free. It's like free of almost all the allergies. If you find some things in here, just hit me up and we'll make some substitutions. So the first thing I'm going to do is mash these beans really, really well. So I'm going to... My counter is so wide and I am so short. So this is like a serious masher. This is no wussy masher. So see how, even though you might think, well, she dried these beans, what the heck? But see how there's still moisture in here? And it's okay. We're working with that within the recipe. Now, if you made some homemade black beans, this is going to be loud. They may have more liquid than this. Maybe you cook them down creamy, like I did for the New Year's black-eyed peas. Remember how yummy and creamy those were? You just might have to add some extra dry ingredients. And if you buy a different brand of canned beans, you might have to change it. So just, again, Deep Zen breath, be flexible. We're excited 2021 is here. And magic vegan sausage. I think that's a good mantra. Maybe that should, I still haven't picked my word for the year. Maybe magic vegan sausage should be my goal word for the year. What do you guys think? Or maybe just magic vegan potato recipes. Okay. So see how they're nice and smushy. It's okay if there's some beaniness and you're going to have some skins. Now, I remember one gentleman was saying he doesn't like things that look like meat. Honestly, I don't feel like patties look like meat. Not like Beyond Meat or Impossible Meat or something like that. It looks like veggie patties. And while there's nothing intrinsically good or bad about that, I do choose to use black beans because they look a little more like breakfast sausage patties. So I see that Dorian was saying, can you use chickpeas instead of black beans? And you can. Or you could use white beans. And in fact, this is my last can of black beans. And I came this close to to deciding to go ahead and use these because I could use pinto beans, I could use kidney beans, I could use white beans. White beans will make it look like a chickeny sausage, right? A little lighter color. And that's all this is doing. They're yummy, good for you beans, and you can really use any bean that you wanted to. Now, with chickpeas in particular, you may end up using more liquid just because chickpea is different than all the other beans. It is the special bean, the way potatoes are special in my heart, right? So, and because they're so different, they hold together. Like you can't really cook creamy chickpeas the way we cook creamy pintos or creamy black-eyed peas. They don't cook in and of themselves. They don't cook down. Can we puree them? Of course we can. But because it doesn't hold some of that extra liquid the same way, just have a little bit of water in case you need to mix something else in, or you might use a little bit less of the dry ingredients. Yay, Gina's here. Awesome. Wonderful to see you because this sausage is perfect for you. So I know. And Amelia says, is that better for mashing beans compared to the S pattern? You know what? I love this masher. I think this is like, yeah, it's a Jamie Oliver masher. It reminds me of my garlic, my garlic masher, right? And it's heavy and it's whoa. Did that make sense? Or should I actually say that in words? It's very heavy, so you don't have to do a lot of effort. It does the work for you. I feel like that with this. Also, it's a little ergonomic, so I like that. But when I made like some veggie dogs, like with vegetables, and so I'm smushing up beets and potatoes and other things, I find like beets are harder to mash up than some of the things we're doing now, and this works really good for that. You don't have to have this. Whatever potato masher you have is perfect, right? If you are looking for a potato masher, this I recommend. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. Aha! That is a beautiful question, Aunt B. Can you make this in a food processor? Yes, you can. Here's what I would do is I would process the beans and the potatoes, and then I would put them in a bowl. The quinoa we're not really going to mash up, so I wouldn't really want you to puree that necessarily, though you probably could and nothing bad would happen. Let's add the flours after these ingredients get mashed up though. So you could totally do that with potatoes. And these potatoes I let drain for a while, so I have some extra. We'll see what I can do with them because more potato is always delicious. but I knew I put kind of a heaping one. And one thing to know too, like the larger chunks like this versus the little parts that are kind of flakier, they're going to be a little drier on the inside. And Aunt Bee, I always have your back because my wrists aren't awesome. And so I'm just going to keep mashing this. I don't know that you, here, I'll give you at least one good look while we're chatting along. And see, it just makes quick work of things, that's all. Especially when we're getting into where we're squishing things for patties. And don't forget too, I know I still owe you guys to get this up. This month, I'm going to be doing, for my cooking classes, the live ones that are part of Kathy's Cooking Club, or you can buy separately. I am going to be doing patties, and I'm going to be doing a casserole class. So this is the kind of yummy goodness you will get in the patty class. I was thinking of doing this in the patty class, but since you guys have access to it, I'll find something equally enticing. Okay? So actually I want the big mixery thing. So we just want to kind of get this in. It's gonna, seriously, we want this whole texture to, ooh, there's a piece of tater I didn't get smushed. Don't look, buddy. There we go. All right. So, and when we're doing any of these kind of patty things, what we want to do is get a consistency that is kind of Play-Doh so it doesn't stick to your hands. It's almost like when you make a pupusa, if you watch that video. You know, there's an in-between, although it's okay if this is a little drier. Okay. Good point. As you always have good points, Joann. Why did I want to call you Diane? Joann wants us to remember that if we're going to do this in the food processor, don't just gum it up, because especially with the potatoes, whirling it around for an unspecified time can make it a little bit gummy, which doesn't hurt our purposes here, but it would be better just to pulse it until you can kind of get it like this. Okay, and if you look too, notice, and let's see, Danny says, buying too many frozen vegan foods and want to make your own. This is exciting. And somebody remind me to talk about this versus some of the other patties. So see, there's a couple of pieces of beans and potato, and it doesn't have to be pureed. It's okay. It's not going to be icky in our mouths. And so now we're going to put in a cup of cooked quinoa. And my quinoa also is cooked fairly dry because I tried a new cooking method, and now I need a wooden spoon. Where did Cheryl put my favorite spoon? Yes, in the wrong place. This is a short-handled wooden spoon, and when you're doing something like this, especially if you don't have the best wrists in the planet, this is helpful. And Aunt Bee, you could totally pulse the quinoa in if this is too much for your wrists. Absolutely. And actually, you know, let me take all this back. I think you could pulse all of it if you were really careful. All right. Okay, while I'm doing this, I'm going to mix in 2 tablespoons of flaxseed. So, what that means, usually we would make this into a flax egg, right? And like I said, ooh, I'm getting this everywhere. I must have talked right into it. If this mixture today is drier than the mixtures I've made before, we might add some water. But so I'm just going to sprinkle that in there. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle 2 tablespoons of our 1/4 cup. So that's half of the 1/4 cup to start off with. And let's see. Because if your wrists are seriously bad, doing all of this in the food processor, I think probably is a better thing. Because I can do this much. I could not do a double batch. it would just be a little hard. You can also get in there with your hands, though I'm trying not to be too gross because I'm talking to you guys. You guys are over at my house. I want to be on my best behavior. And someone has heard of a kind of mashed reference to a bean masher versus an S-blade potato masher. Interesting. Interesting. So see how that, but we're doing okay. I feel like it's not too dry. See how we're not seeing like a bunch of flour anywhere. And what it's going to do is kind of soak up some of this mixture. I'm going to go ahead and add it all in. I am going to follow the recipe. I say to you, and I know you can't even believe that I might be doing that. Oh, great, and Diane is from Mesa, Arizona and cooking along with us. We are so glad you're here. Spuddy Buddy, oh, I'm wrong camera. Spuddy Buddy welcomes you. All right. Oh, see, I told you. My wrists are no spring chickens either. It comes from all the different kinds of work that I've done that, you know, they're a little bit and some burgers I do make in the food processor, especially if it's much thicker than this one. And here's another thing. Let's say you've added this in and it's just not getting to that more solid Play-Doh consistency. You could always, and this is with any patties, anytime, any day, you could have like some breadcrumbs or some crunchy chickpeas that you put in the air fryer, crumbled in a food processor, and patty it around that. I do that a lot with my faux crab cakes. A, it just gives it kind of an interesting texture, but B, it means I can keep those a little wetter on the inside the way I want it to be. Okay. Excellent question. Does it matter what kind of potatoes? And this is where I tell you that you may be surprised, but Idaho potatoes are not all russet potatoes. So you could use any kind of potatoes with this. I don't think that it matters. I did use russets because that's what I had, and I'm going to kind of give a little potato talk to you about that as well. Let's see. Oh, I want to get my hands in there. I'm trying so hard. No, don't do it. No. Let me show you this in overhead too. So no, it doesn't matter what kind of potatoes you use. I would use peeled potatoes. Okay. And we can talk about, usually I do 2 tablespoon sections. And that's good. So see, it really is like Play-Doh. And I do have a lovely handy little wet rag for myself. Amelia said potatoes are good in a food processor. A blender alone can, quickly turn to glue. And then it just kind of depends on what you're doing, because in a way, the potatoes are part of the glue of these patties. So it's like okra. Okra gets slimy. Some people don't like the slimy, but we use the slimy for good on gumbo. So I think in this case, if you overmixed it a little bit, it wouldn't really change or really degrade the quality of the product that you put out at the end, is kind of what I think. You know me well. Yes, I would rather clean this than my food processor. I have like this love-hate relationship with my food processor. And Aunt B says she has a powerful kitchen faucet sprayer. It cleans very well and fast. Awesome. I need that. So Gina needs one too. So that's awesome. And Jackie's saying, go ahead and use your hands. Okay, so let's talk these. This is about, you may have some different ones of these. You don't have to. We can also use the tablespoon. So usually I like to kind of come close and make them sort of the same. So in the recipe, oh, before I do that, oh my God, you guys, I got overly excited. I did not put our sausage spice in there. So it would taste not like sausage. This is a magic powder. So let me look at this recipe. We made this. So what I did is I took all the ingredients I'm going to talk to you about. Remember, you can get this recipe on idahopotato.com. Just look up potato sausage, and that should bring it up in a list of things. Or look up Jacqui Hester and go to my recipes, and it's up I think near the top. So this is the magic potato sausage elixir. And it's got, in here I use date sugar. You could use brown sugar, it's up to you. Sage, garlic powder, onion powder, marjoram. You can use salt or leave it out. And we'll talk about what a nice generic salt substitute would be for this. It's got thyme, rosemary, ground coriander, allspice, black pepper, and nutmeg. So if you have those things, you can make this. I always blend things in a spice grinder. And I talk a little more about spice grinders in that video on YouTube. Now, there are also different things, like Savory Spice Shop has some different things. Like they do have a frying pan pork sausage spice. And I know it's weird talking about vegan sausages and then seeing meat things on the spices. However, this is a good way to kind of start getting some of those familiar flavors and learning how to blend the spices or what you're looking for by going to a spice store and just smelling it. These all do have salt. Mine, you can make how you want. The Savory Spice pork one is not vegan. It has honey in it, but you can even go into a store and just look. Like for instance, this is the venison sausage one, and it has allspice, mace, nutmeg, and cloves. And so it's just very interesting. The same way Italian sausage is going to smell and taste different than bratwurst or andouille. It's about the spices. And this is a chorizo blend. And it smells really yummy. And you guys know I do an oat sausage that I use Italian spices for, and I also have a chorizo one in the Great Vegan Bean book. Okay. And someone's saying, if you had leftover mashed potatoes, would those work? You would probably end up having to put in a little more dry, because I'm thinking I'm going to put 2 to 3 tablespoons of this in here. I'll let you guys see that while we're doing this. So I just worried that they might be a little extra wet. I know I like mine super flavorful. This is not a spicy blend, so I'm going to mix that in. Okay. I think we're giving up on this, and I'm just going to get in there. And I cleaned my hands before all this started, just so you know. Oh, it smells really good. So if you had leftover mashed potatoes, I'm assuming you probably had non-dairy milk. Perhaps you would have some vegan butter in there. They would be more liquid, because what I do when I do the mashed potatoes, when I do the potatoes, cook the potatoes for this, I boil them. Then I put them in a strainer and I let them sit a little bit extra, like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, to try and get some of that extra liquid off of there. So you're just going to have to come back and make up for that not happening. So maybe, depending on how much it is, you might end up doing anywhere between 2 tablespoons to 1/4 cup more flour or flaxseed, or a combination. Okay. And so let me show you what I'm doing here too. Okay. So as I'm getting in here, I don't want to just push this spice on the outside. I want to squeeze in so that we're incorporating this spice throughout. So the reason I like to grind this spice to begin with is so that all the flavors, like I don't just get a little taste of garlic in one place and coriander in another. And see how it's still going to be a little bit messy, but it holds together. It almost feels like a wet loaf of bread when you're just starting to knead it. Okay. And the more incorporated your spices are, the better everything's going to be, because then each patty is going to have some of that glorious, glorious flavor. And the Plant-Based Network says the only reason people like meat is the spices and flavoring. So use those spices. And you guys know, and I think it's apple. Didn't you say I need to have a spice blend called Kathy's Kitchen Witchery? And I like that because I do have a lot of my own spice blends. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do, sometimes I will just put it out in teaspoons. I'm trying to decide. I'll rinse my hand off. I will try to be civilized. I'm just going to get it all back on there again, but I'm actually going to get a scraper, and I'm going to divide this up as if it was dough and into rolls. But in the recipe itself, I actually take 2 tablespoons. Now, I will also tell you that this is a drier mixture than what mine was to begin with. So we can just plop this guy here, and you just want to kind of cut it in half, cut it in half. And I'm going to make bigger patties, I think, this time too. And let's see here. And Joann says, what would you add for ingredients if you wanted a spicy sausage? I would actually use cayenne and the little crushed red pepper flakes, because those are often in sausage. We're just going to cut these into 4. And if they're not perfect, I'm okay with that. I'm just kind of shaping it to where maybe it's going to come out close to the same. Yes, yes, I know. It should always be perfect. However, when is vegan potato sausage not perfect? Maybe when you forget to leave this, put in the sausage spices. You guys have me. So I definitely would do that. Oh, and Linda said she'd buy that spice blend. I know. Well, and then there's my pepperoni spice blend. And we made my barbecue. So it's like barbecue potato chip spice blend. We made that on the YouTube channel recently too. Okay. This I can handle with the damp towelette. The other was far too much. Okay. So I'm just putting a piece of parchment paper on a pan. I do have my oven preheated at 375. In case you wondered about any of that, I'll move these guys over here. And Jackie said, next cookbook idea. I am working on an oil-free sauces cookbook, and I believe I am rolling in some spice blends into that now. And Linda says yes. And I'm saying maybe Spuddy Buddy and I need to write a vegan potato book. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. Spuddy Buddy might be a little bit too star quality. He might be hard to work with. And someone's saying caraway seeds. Absolutely. So what I've made in here is kind of a southern breakfast sausage blend. And so we're just going to make these into patties. And I think I'm coming up a little bit shyer, but I'm making the patties a little bit bigger. With this the way it is, if yours is more a thicker Play-Doh, That seems so weird to say. And also, actually I can do this overhead so you guys can see this. So I can get it to where it's here, right? And see, it's fairly thick. If I want it thinner, I can just press it and push it out. Or I should be able to do it here. Do you notice you're going to see my fingerprints? So if I do it here once and then kind of turn it over, then it just looks a little more not hand formed. And I see some more people are on. And so what I would like to say to you is hello. We are making vegan sausage with potatoes and my spice blend. And we are glad you're here because the world needs more vegan sausage. It smells so good. And so I'm making mine kind of biscuity sized. Is that a word? Biscuity? You guys don't mind if I just make up my own words, right? I didn't think so. Awesome. I hope that's about more potato recipes. Okay, and Errol, I'm sorry I don't know how to say your name, but if you spell it phonetically, I will give it another go. It says, can you eat these like a burger on a bun with ketchup and sprouts? You can do whatever you want. So absolutely. This would settle up just fine. So here's the thing too, if you wanted to make these, maybe you're one person, or maybe you're just like, I only like breakfast sausage on Sundays. Then you can make all of these and freeze them. And if you were doing this for burgers, you're going to have to cook it longer in the oven. And if you're going to freeze these, you're not going to cook them all the way. You're going to cook them like half the way. But and then that way you can pan fry them straight from the freezer and you're ready to go. But absolutely, I used to work in a restaurant in New Orleans and they actually had a sausage burger. So I don't see why not. If they could do it, why can't we? Let's see here. Yep, Joann agrees. And Jackie's saying fennel would make it more Italian and caraway would be more German. Absolutely. And see, that's the beauty. So what I'd love for you guys to do, and I think Penzeys probably has some spice blends, but really My Spice Sage is a place. Penzeys, Savory Spice Shop. I don't think Frontier Herbs has a specific sausage blend. But if there's one that you grew up with, you can probably go onto the interwebs and do a little search. I mean, I'm kind of playing with these a little bit because I want them to be of a similar thickness so that they're going to be done at about the same amount of time. That's what's going on there. Diane says yummy and would be wonderful. Oh, and eat it with potatoes and onions. That could work too. You could do Italian, like you can make an Italian sausage. And I'm trying to remember which one had the andouille sausage. I think it's the Ultimate Vegan Cookbook for Your Instant Pot has an andouille sausage. It's a gluten, it does have gluten. And then I made these great veggie hot dogs, and they're red from the beets. So they're real veggies. And there's potato in there too. And that's in the Gluten-Free Vegan Cookbook for Your Instant Pot. And that would be good too with that. Yeah, exactly. You would definitely want, if you could, any patties, you can turn into petite size or burger size. Okay, awesome. Oh, and Linda's saying that Jackie's name looks almost like potatoes in Spanish. And Jacqui says that her husband's Greek. But I would be a potato if he was from Mexico. I like that. Don't we all just really want to be a potato? Or is that just me? Please don't tell me it's just me. That would make me a little bit sad. Let me oh, you guys can kind of see from there. Okay. Okay, and Lucas says, oh, You could probably use this as well with different spices as meatballs, of course. A patty is a mini splendored thing. And that's why we're having a class this month on patties. And Lucas says, will I post the recipe? Absolutely. So the recipes are up, and you can get it on idahopotatoes.com. And the recipe, depending on, let's see, you're watching on Facebook. If you click the live and it goes big, and it might be in this top hand corner, but if it's not, as soon as the live is done and you come back to it, it shows the description. There's a link to the patties and a link to the YouTube video where I show you how to make the spice blend. It's not hard, but we do talk about some other things like the spice grinders I like, and, you know, we just hang out, just like now. So you can get it. Also, if it's easier for you, you can go, and I believe it's, well, let's see. I know if I can go back. I'm getting potato all over my computer. That's why this is the old computer. I'm trying to see if I can find Cheryl's comment, but I can't. Linda, if you would put up, if Linda or one of the potato lovelies would be willing to put up the link, I can put it back on the screen again. Ooh, and Earl is planning to make that andouille sausage this evening. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. And I'm wondering, since you asked about the sausage burger too, are you in New Orleans or Louisiana? I don't think we saw Marilyn on. Marilyn is from Louisiana. She hangs out with us a lot. And I lived in New Orleans for 12 years. So I'm just wondering if, like, because that's the only place I've ever seen kind of the sausage burger. Aha, excellent. Thank you so much, Linda. So that's the recipe. And again, you can just go to idahopotato.com, search my name, Kathy Hester, and you'll come up with all my cool potato recipes that I made for them. There's also a killer chili potato burger that I'm still madly in love with. It's one of the my favorite things I made last year, I think. And we'll probably do it in the patty class because I love it so much. Okay, and then I'll go ahead, and this is also where you can get to all of my recipes. Thank you so much, Linda. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you, Potatoes, for doing that too. I see that you did it as well. I know you guys are probably on different places. So what happens when I go live is I go live like 8 different places, and this little thing magically pulls all the comments together. So if you're ever in a place and you're alone and you hear me reading comments, you're like, I don't think she's telling me the truth. That's what's going on. Okay. Oh, these look so good, you guys. Here, I'll let you. Don't they look good? They almost look like a grown-up made them. Imagine that. Aha, and here's the pepita burgers. Yum. So, yeah, those are really good. And I believe we did a live about those too. And if so, that would be on YouTube and probably somewhere on Facebook. It's sometimes easier to search YouTube for those. Okay, so we've got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I made these a little bit bigger. My original ones were smaller and thicker. And so I'm hoping these will cook probably at about the same time. We're going to check them in about 10 minutes. I have a convection oven, so usually my 10 minutes might be your 13 or 12 minutes. Sorry, I got to get all this off my hands. Okay. Now I feel like I'm not going to stay in the world. And we're going to talk about potatoes, and we'll talk about some spices and stuff too while those are cooking. And I do have a couple left over. I may play with those and try a few things with them and report back. Because I'm thinking, as thick as these are, so when I do my oat sausage or my chorizo, it's got grains and things just like this mix. The grain ratio is a little bit higher, but then I put it in a skillet and keep chopping it up, and so it looks kind of like crumbles. And I'm thinking that might work with this, so I may try that. Maybe try gravy or something like that. Get a little crazy. Yeah, I don't see Marilyn today. Hopefully she's doing okay. Aha, and Errol lives in Baltimore, but my kids love burgers, yeah. And that's why veggie patties are so popular. It says it would be fun to make small balls and smother them in sauce on a bun and make an Italian sub. Absolutely. Probably what I would do is make small balls, put them in the air fryer or oven if you don't have one, cook until you get a nice crunch, then put it in the sauce, because what you want, you don't want it to just reconstitute back to Play-Doh. So you want to make sure that you've got a good crisp crunch going on around the edges. Yeah, I'm thinking gravy would be wonderful too. So, okay, let's talk about potatoes for a minute. Let's have a serious conversation, people. Let's pull it together. You know that's going to last like 3 seconds, right? Okay, so I wanted to show you some potatoes, and we talk about this every time I do potatoes. But a lot of people would see this and they throw it away. This is still a nice firm potato. This one is not so firm. It is on the edge of, hello, we need to go goodbye. So just because you see these, you cannot eat them. But I'm going to show you how we can fix this. And actually, I think we can just fix it with peelers. So not every peeler has something, but like my favorite handy dandy peeler has this, right? And that's for boring in and getting these things out. A lot of them will have these little divots. And let me show you again here where you can see these a little bit closer. So see how that has like a little divot? And that's a stabby. So we can stabby these out. Now, I'm not sure you can see, but like right here is just the barest beginnings of one of these. So it's not this big yet. Okay, and so let's look at these 3 potatoes together for a minute. And these were stored in a dark place, but eventually the potato wants to unleash. The potato wants to grow and have its own family. And that's what's happening. And it's okay. The weather here has been ridiculous. So it was like 32 when we took a walk this morning, and last night it was like 50 degrees. So I find it used to be that all through the winter we wouldn't have the sprout until the spring. And in the spring they will go crazy. So I know that Barbara was saying she gets some green on her potatoes. So if you store them out, they are going to kind of photosynthesize and get some green on them. If it's just a little bit of greenish, you can peel down through the green until it's white. The green can upset your stomach a little bit. I like to unleash the potato. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that. I appreciate you. Okay, so one of the things, and let's go back here again. And let me see, I may be able to zoom in a little bit more so that we can see this better. There we go. Oh yeah, that's helpful. Okay, now let's see if we can get the, ooh, okay. So now you can even sort of see what I was talking about. So see, just right there, that little dot, that is going to grow to be this. But watch, when it's little like that, when you can barely see them, you don't need to do anything but this. See, it's gone. There's no mark there at all. So for this, We can either scoop around in here or we can stick this in here and really pull it out. See, we're getting it, the root and everything. Okay. And then when we peel that, see how it's all fine? And there's probably going to be, yeah, like right there, it was a little bit green, so I just peeled that away. It was just the barest hints of green, and so these guys, I'm going to be able to just peel them away. And this is just like, you would get something like this from Misfit. And so if you peeled it, see how there was a dark spot underneath it? Sometimes those dark spots go in deeper, and you can just keep peeling it. So see, there's a spot, now it's gone. Just as long as it ends up looking the way you want it to. Now we're going to look at this because I suspect this is past its prime. So one reason is, see how even though potatoes are a little wrinkly, can you see how this is significantly more wrinkly than that one is, right? And also it squishes in more. See how that's not squishing in at all? So when they become soft, I have had potatoes come from different sources that were scarred. So it could look like this if it had scars, but if it's soft, that's when you know it's not good anymore. So let's watch this potato be just fine. I was hoping to get to show, okay. I'm going to pull out another potato. I know I've got some potato that's got to be like on death's door in here. Yeah, this guy's at death's door. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm not even going to let you see that one, but I'm taking that one out of the drawer. It's better you don't see some of these things. So this one's super wrinkly. I bet you can see how wrinkly it is right from there. Okay, so when we sit this down, it is quite obviously not such a great potato. Okay. Oh, and it's super squishy. See, we can even kind of move it around. And let me tell you what I do also. So I just want you to be able to know what's good and what's not good. And you know what? I never put on the, no, I did. Okay. I didn't think I put the timer on. I didn't trust myself. What I do in the spring when this happens is I actually cut all of these off and I put them in my porch planter, and beautiful potato leaves come out of it. So it's up to you. I don't know that this one will last till the spring, and if I put it out now, we will have hard freezes. You can do that with, and it's just kind of a cool thing to do. It's free patio plants. So that's one thing, but at this point, definitely this is not going to be good. So let me see what we see anything. It's almost impossible to peel it, but it's not being really scarred or anything, but it's obviously bad. I will let you see from a distance. This one is not only squishy, it's turning colors. So yeah. So if your potatoes are turning slightly green, then you want to try and keep them from the sunlight. Like as you can see, so I've got windows all here. There's a window up here, window up here. We have a wall of windows over there. And we have clear story windows up there. So if I know I'm going to use my potatoes up really quickly, I can go ahead and kind of fudge with that a little bit. But if I know I want them to keep going, then not. But also, you know, I gave up on this guy too soon. And I feel kind of bad about that. These guys are going to get peeled and cooked for me, but you just don't eat these. These are bad for you. And if you get the green sheen, sometimes you'll see it starting even just to have a hint of green in here, or when you peel it, you'll see that green. But it's almost like an onion in that it's layers. If you keep peeling, you might even have to peel off a third of your potato, but the stuff in the middle, unless it's old and squishy, which immediately says, no, that goes to the compost. And hopefully that helps. Let's see here. Do I have a gravy recipe that doesn't use mushrooms or nutritional yeast? Okay. You could do a black pepper gravy, and that's something that Joann said. So what I do if we're making an oil-free gravy is I would take oat flour again. You're going to toast it lightly. And you could also still use the same premise from the holiday tofu and gravy that you can watch on my YouTube channel. And instead of adding any kind of nutritional yeast or poultry seasoning, and here's the thing too, if you don't do nutritional yeast at all, you still could put poultry seasoning in if you want it to be reminiscent of a chickeny gravy. But traditionally, right, we make a roux, we heat the oil, we put the flour in, and we toast it together. Well, you can make an oil-free roux, because a roux is just to thicken something and enhance the flavor of it. So what you want to do is over a medium-low heat, toast maybe a 1/4 cup of oat flour. And what's going to happen, and smell it as you toast it. Every few minutes, smell it first. It smells like oats. Eventually, it will still look the same, but it'll smell ever so slightly nutty. Then as you keep going, it will get a little darker, and the nutty flavor will be more prominent. And that's just like when you're making a traditional roux with oil. Like a Cajun roux, like people pride themselves on how dark they get their roux. It's how long and slow can you cook that flour and cook the flavor into your roux without burning it. Because as soon as there's the hint of burn, you got to throw that puppy out, you got to start again. Okay, so you're going to do that. Then you're going to put a little bit of your favorite unsweetened non-dairy milk. A little, let's start with 1/2 cup. You're going to have a whisk. You're going to be whisking it probably over medium heat, medium to medium high, depending on your stove. You can go ahead and put in lots of cracked black pepper. If you use salt, and I did say I would talk about that salt substitute, you could put some salt in at that point. If you don't do any kind of salt, if you're restricted from having salt, the best plain, like basic salt substitute so you can taste all the other things is to mix in a container maybe 1 tablespoon of granulated onion or onion powder, 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic or garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of ground celery seed. That gives those bitey things that salt does to your palate, and so it helps you feel a little bit more like there's something in there. It elevates the flavor and gives your mouth some of the things that it's expecting. For those of you who can use nutritional yeast, you could add nutritional yeast to that and some poultry spice, make like a golden gravy or a chicken-y gravy. You could add, if we kept it plain, so right now we're talking toasted oat flour and milky stuff, and then you could do some mushroom powder or saute mushrooms to make a mushroom or a beefy gravy if you're using mushroom powder. You could use any kind of spice blends that you wanted to. Like you could make a creamy, like curry gravy. If you put some garam masala in there, you could make it into like a spicy Cajun gravy by putting a Cajun spice blend. So as long as you have a base gravy, and all you need for that, you could use brown rice flour, you can use whole wheat flour. I use oat flour. Most of the people, like even Chef AJ's people, they don't do any flours, but some lightly pulsed oats they're able to do, so that's why I default to oat flour. But for years I did it with whole wheat flour. Whole wheat pastry flour is my favorite just because the grind is smaller and it makes a smoother gravy. Okay, so hopefully, did that help, Deborah? And let me check over here. And let's check these. I did not set it, I don't think. Oh, glasses. All right. Let me get this guy over here. And we'll look at these and we'll flip them over and talk about that just a wee bit. And I love using parchment paper because then I don't have to wash my pan. Now wait, we need to like unzoom on that a little bit. That's a little too zoomy. Okay, so you can just flip these over. So my hands are cook's hands, so I can kind of touch things that are hot. You should not be touching things like this. So you can see it's a little bit browned on the bottom. There's a nice, I would like to call it a skin on there. If you can kind of see if part of them are turned over. And these are great. So some things that are thicker patties, if the water ratio is off a little bit, they could be crumbly. These guys aren't crumbling at all. And then I'm going to go ahead and put these in. If I was freezing them, actually, I think I'm only going to put them in for about 5 minutes. I think I say in the original recipe, I'll check when I'm in there. We'll start there. Let's see what I said then. But my patties were more moist, and so that is going to change cooking time. Let's see. So I originally said we were making 20 of them, and you bake them for 10 minutes, and then you can flip them and bake them for 10 more. If they're a little soft after that, bake them a little bit extra. But if they feel like, right now, I just feel like that just needs a little extra. And once you freeze them, you can just stack them in something you can put in your freezer and just pull out a couple of them. If you are going to leave them for longer than a week, I would go ahead and cut out some parchment pieces and put in between just to make it easier to get out. If you have any to-go containers or something like that, that would work. A Ziploc bag, a glass resealable container, any things like that would work just fine. Oh, that's excellent. And I'm sorry, I don't see your name, but someone who is very clever uses finely grated potatoes uses that as a thickener. And that's a wonderful idea too, to thicken as a gravy. And I mean, I've also seen people puree things like pureed chickpeas with some non-dairy milk and some things to use that as that extra thickener. I do have to say, for a while I was reluctant to do the roux, but once you've done it once or twice, it's super easy. I'm pretty sure there's a live with me making some other gravy in addition to making that gravy. And it's one of those things that you go, a roux, right? Or like potato sauce, making my own vegan sausage. No, that's way too hard. You saw how easy that was. Yes, I prepped and cooked the potato. So I actually just took these potatoes, cut them in about 8 little pieces, boiled them in water until they were fork tender. Just strained them in my handy dandy strainer. With the quinoa, I put 2 cups of quinoa. I didn't need all that for this. I cooked a whole bunch of extra quinoa, but I did 2 cups of quinoa that was already rinsed. And I think it was maybe Joann or Jacqui who told me Costco. Quinoa was already pre-rinsed, and it's amazing. I love it. So I put that in the Instant Pot with 2 1/4 cups of water. I cooked it on high pressure for 1 minute. I let it sit for at least 10 minutes and then release the pressure the rest of the way. But I just kind of was doing other stuff. So it was just ready when I was ready. All the pressure had released. If you want to make your quinoa taste extra special, you'll toast it first, and we might do a live on just making quinoa soon. And I measured out what? Some flaxseed. Other things. I did make the breakfast spice already, but that's nothing. That's really nothing in the amount of time, and it probably cost us a few dollars to make more than a dozen sausage patties. Even the ones that may still have some things are like 4 patties, maybe 6 patties for like $5. Getting twice as much of this. And then if you are, I'm hearing a bunch of things come in. Oh, thank you. I love coming up with ideas and brainstorming. It's my most favorite thing to do. If we're looking at something like I am a believer, as you're transitioning from a standard American diet to plant-based or vegan, you may choose, and it may work for you, to have something like Beyond Meat or Impossible Burger or Impossible Sausage. And it helps Cheryl transition over. So I hold no ill feelings, but it is incredibly oily. It's full of lots of oil. It is not the healthiest thing to eat, so it's like something that's better eaten as a treat. Whereas this sausage, you could have every morning, and I don't see any issues with this, right? It's just got whole food, plant-based ingredients. It doesn't have coconut oil in it. It's not full of sodium. So again, those of you who are transitioning and trying some new things, I'm not trying to discourage you from that, but also 4 sausage links of Beyond Meat sausage is like $9 for 4 sausage links, right? So it's something, we have it on occasion as well, just to kind of like do something different, live a little. But this is something that's so easy to make and to keep in your freezer, because you could even do this like once a month. And see, these are the whole little patties. And so I'm gonna see if I can cut one without smushing it too much, so you can kind of see what's inside. And now I will go back and zoom in for you again so you can see this. You see? It is not, super crumbly, but it's also not just mush. Can you guys see that pretty well? Let's see if I can get that to focus in a little bit better. And so what's happening is that it's definitely a little crispy on the outside, right? We've kind of made this skin. And I say skin because when I was watching an arepa video, and that's how they described it. Like when you make arepas and then you pan fry them, then you put them in the oven to cook, but it creates this kind of skin. It's very similar to this. These are so good. They're really good. So you can also, and we should have, tasted the dough before we put it in, because then you can always add additional sausage spice, additional salt, or a single ingredient that we put in here if you wanted to have something more like that, to make it exactly the way you want to. But it's really yummy. And the potatoes are going to keep it kind of moist, but there's still like a nice little crispy exterior part to it as well. Now, the secret sausage seasoning is with the recipes. So again, let me, here we go. You can get the recipe at idahopotato.com at that address. Also, you can go and rewatch this. If you're watching, I think you're watching on Facebook, and you may not see all the full description. Once this comes back on, it will be in the full description, so you'll see all that too. And you can go to idahopotato.com and search my name. It'll pull up all my recipes, and you can see it there too. So don't worry, you did not miss anything. You too will have the secret, okay, not so secret, sausage spice blend that I've done. Great. And somebody else asked about reposting what is in the seasoning. I can read it to you one more time too, perhaps. Okay, so what I have in there is I have date sugar. You could use brown sugar. You could leave the sugar out altogether, but I do find date sugar is going to work a little better for this than date paste, unless you wanted to make like just the amount you were going to use for a recipe. So I like to have a little extra. So I made the spice blend. Now I can make a couple of batches. So brown sugar or date sugar. That could also be coconut sugar. Or whatever sugary blend. I would not put a liquid syrup in like maple syrup. You can crystals, something garlic powder, marjoram, salt, or that plain salt substitute that we talked about, or your favorite salt substitute would work fine, or you can just leave it out. If you don't want to be bothered to even mix onion powder and garlic powder and celery seed together, you could just put a little extra garlic powder and a little extra onion powder in there and just call it a day. Because you're going to taste the seasoning as you're making it. So you could just try it that way. We have dried thyme, we've got rosemary, coriander, allspice, black pepper, and nutmeg. Just a little bit of nutmeg. That's the sausage blend that I like. So when you make sausage blend, know that you can change it up to, if you're like, I like nutmeg more than all the other things, or extras who hate rosemary. Out. Will it be different? Yes. Is this different from regular sausage? Yes. It's okay. Make it the way that makes you happy. I make recipes so you have a really good sturdy base to kind of like feel things out. If you didn't have quinoa, could you use brown rice? Yeah. If you're not gluten-free, could you use like farro? Yeah. You know, right? If you don't have black beans, you could use pinto beans or another kind of bean. So basically what we want in the end is a consistency like Play-Doh that tastes like magic. And then all we have to do, and you could also have pan fried these. I find when you're doing these patties though, it makes a lot more sense to cook them off all at the same time. It's very hard not to futz with them in a nonstick pan and smush them and mess them up. You're going to have a nice sturdy patty this way that you can reheat in a pan easy. So that is my first choice, is to cook these in the oven. I could have put them in the Breville on air fry or on bake, and we baked it in my convection oven. So let's see what we got here. And Linda says, oh, delicious, lunchtime here in Idaho, and you're making me hungry. I know, I'm making me hungry. And I would like some of those dehydrated tomato pieces and those sausages for a little extra flavor and chew. Absolutely. You could take like sun-dried tomatoes, either. Mine are always dry. If you had some that, like some are just flexible but not packed in oil, you could totally do that. You could, you really could do a whole other sausage as long as the consistency will hold together. It'll patty, right? That's all you need. So like we made a new crab cake, or like a crabless cake, in class last month. And so I made it on the spot. And what we were doing, we were looking for texture, we were looking for flavor, we put some Old Bay seasoning in, we were talking about different things, and that's how the sausage is too. That's why patties are so amazing, because you can take it for you. So now you have a base recipe, and maybe you want to make it into something else. I just want to see what you make. I'd love it if you would post, if you make these. Go to my free private Facebook group, Vegan Recipes, Cooking with Kathy Hester, and just go over there and post your picture. We'd love to see it. It's a super supportive community, just like you see here, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. Oh, awesome. And Gina says, thanks so much. I'm loving these lives. Excited I can learn beyond the cookbooks. And Julie enjoyed it. Awesome. And Helene has my back with a recipe again. You guys are so good to me. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you guys for spending time with me baking magic vegan sausage. But I think your life will be better for it. At least if you make it, not if you just watch this. You've got to make some of your own sausage too. And then, okay, Apple has a question. How about rolling these into a sausage shape and steaming instead of baking? You know, I think if they're dry enough, you can do that because the veggie dogs that I made, it's a little bit of a pain. So I will tell you that. Because I made the veggie hot dogs, so then you take the dough and you roll them into individual hot dogs, and then you're putting them in parchment paper things, and then you're steaming it maybe over a pot of water or in the Instant Pot. So yes, and I know you can do it from hot dogs. I also know my pattying ability is much more of a higher level than my like hot dog sausage rolling ability. They always look a little, but they still always taste delicious. So yes, I think you could do that. And Theresa's can't wait to try it. And Colleen, yes, awesome. I can't wait for you to see the rewatch and you can get the recipe. And if you have some questions, again, you can hop on over into that vegan Facebook group, Vegan Recipes, Cooking with Kathy Hester, and we can help you out if you have some questions. And Sandra says you could use maple sugar instead to get that maple flavor without maple syrup. Absolutely. Depending on what part of the country you live, it is more prohibitive financially. Like in my area, we don't get a lot of that, but I bet you if I was like kind of in New England area, I would be having that way overdate sugar. Awesome. And this was great, you guys. Thank you again so much for spending time with me. Make sure to check out the recipe over on idahopotato.com. Just look up Kathy Hester or potato sausage. If you just do potato sausage, you may come up with some real sausage recipes that are cooked alongside of potatoes. So maybe try my name if you don't want to see that. I am also going live at 3 o'clock in 40 minutes on my Instagram, and we're going to be talking about dairy substitutes. So if you don't already follow me over there, I have a grown-up Instagram now, which is Kathy Hester Cooks. So if you want to follow me over there, I'll see you around 3. Amy Katz is coming on with me as we talk dairy substitutes to go along with our sausage substitute. So anyhow, let's see, is any other questions? I will be kind of combing through later tonight if you've asked some questions that I haven't already answered. And again, big thanks to Idaho Potato for letting me show you guys this. And please eat potatoes. If you have trouble storing them or if you're not sure something is okay to eat or not, again, just post a picture and we'll check in on it. Have an amazing, amazing day. And I will see you guys hopefully at 3.